Hello, everyone listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube. We've got an episode of Behind the Broker today. So it's a part of a series where we discuss with people who are sort of ancillary products to mortgage brokers who kind of make their life easier. And on that note, we've got Nicola Firth from Knowledge Bank. So thanks for joining us today, Nicola.
Thanks, Marcus. It's great to be here. Thank you for asking me to join in.
No problem at all. I would like to start. Tell me about your financial services journey and how that came to grow Knowledge Bank.
Yeah, so my background in the industry was as a broker, and I always describe that as pre-2008 and post-2008 because those two worlds were very different, as anybody that lived through them will know. Very, very different. And pre-2008, I thought, God, this is amazing. I'll never be out of a job. There's business walking in off the streets. It's fantastic. You can get a mortgage anywhere with anyone. It's fantastic.
So much money to give away.
Exactly. And then, of course, 2008 came crashing down us, and that was a different story. So yeah, things changed, and I was still a broker throughout the whole of that time. I was still a broker, and don't get me wrong, there were times that you just thought, can't do this anymore. It's so difficult. Which is what the lovely thing is when I'm speaking to brokers now about what's going on at the minute. I'm like, honestly, it's fine. He said, this is a short-term thing. It's not 2008. It's definitely not.
But it's really interesting you say that. I did one yesterday, and I said to the person the same thing. Can you just reassure everyone who wasn't in it, because there are some real scaremongers who were saying, I've seen the signs before. I'm like, no, you haven't. This is not the same. This is a little blip. It's
It's not.
There's money to be lent and stuff, that kind of thing, isn't there?
This is not even on the Richter scale, is it? I mean, it's really, really not, is it? I mean, and that
there's so many scaremongers out there.
Yes, there are, and it's I don't know why you want to do that. I mean, I'm always trying to be positive, even when there's not a lot to be positive about. I think you should try to be positive, but I think there's a lot to be positive about now. I mean, yes, it's tough, and yes, it is difficult. You can't say it's not. It is a challenging time for people in many, many ways. However, it's not 2008, and the bottom line is banks, building societies, lenders want to lend. They want to lend, and they've got the money to lend as well. Yeah. They didn't have in 2008, and that went on for a long time as well. I mean, very quickly.
Well, yeah, because everyone talks about 2008 like we were all fine in 2009, aren't they? Everyone talks about it like, it's 2008 was the problem. Actually, 2011 was pretty crap.
Exactly.
It was for a long time.
It really was, and I would say the first decent year I had after that was 2013. That's how long that went on for. The first thing that you thought, yes, we are back. There's a lot of talk about green shoots, but my goodness, they took some time to come through, didn't they? And there's so one year, then another, then another, and that is exactly where my path changed, because of course after that, lenders, the only way that they could lend again, they got to get comfortable with lending, and the only way they could get comfortable with lending was to set their stalls out. Okay, we've had our fingers burned, but this is what we're going to do. This is the kind of customer we're looking for, the properties, this area, this is the profile of lending that we can get comfortable with. And that was all about criteria. So that wasn't about rates, it was all about criteria, because if you remember, rates hit rock bottom and stayed there for a long time, didn't they? So it was all about criteria. So lenders set their stalls out. We were like, okay, that's great. How am I going to remember all of this? Spreadsheets, little black books, post-it notes on your computer, all up there, as I've heard brokers say so many times before, and it's, you can't.
Out of interest, sorry to butt in, but that all up there, does that not drive you up the wall? Because
do you know what?
You haven't. You just haven't. You can't.
But you know what? There are people, there are brokers that believe that. They'll say to me, I don't need Knowledge Bank. It's all up there. And I actually, when they say that to them, I've been known to have a little joke with them before now, and I'll say, do you know what? That is brilliant. But if you don't mind me saying, I actually think you're wasted as a mortgage broker. You can see them like puffing their chest out. It's like, what do you mean? I'm like, listen, if you've got that kind of memory, because trust me, we have thousands and thousands of updates and additions to criteria every single month. If you've got a memory like that, you need to be on a poker table in Vegas, because trust me now, you're going to clean up.
You need to be Rain Man counting cards because you're in the wrong job.
So if you've got a memory like that, fair play to you, but get off mortgages, get to Vegas and make money. But yeah, you just can't, can you? I mean,
That
it's
is
just.
good.
And what's the point? Why would you want to? What of all the things that you could use your memory? Why would you want to? Is the other thing.
Yeah.
But
Do you know like what's your specialist subject? Well, blimey, that's interesting.
mortgage lending criteria. Do you know what? If ever I get a mastermind, can you imagine if I don't say mortgage lending criteria? That'd be a travesty, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, you would say because I use Knowledge Bank. I don't need to. It's like the same reason I don't know my wife's phone number anymore. It's because it's in my phone.
It's just exactly.
It's the same,
And that's
it's the same thing.
They're meant to make life easier for you. They're tools for the job, you know. And we're surrounded by tools now, aren't we, to help us in everyday life, so we can focus and be really good at what we do, and we don't need to use excess time, energy, memory power, whatever it may be. But I couldn't believe that there was nothing in the industry, you know, spreadsheets for sure, but you know, you can't keep a spreadsheet up to date. And plus as well, a spreadsheet is not the tool for the job, is it? You know, you're trying to look at that column and then that bit and that bit. You just
imagine
can't.
having to update that, especially at the moment. That spreadsheet's obsolete every week, isn't it?
Exactly that. And that's what we found since Knowledge Bank came out. You know, mortgage desks don't use spreadsheets anymore. They use Knowledge Bank, you know, and that's you just can't, and why would you want to? I mean, you're trying to keep the spreadsheet updated. We've got Knowledge Bank. Lenders are keeping it up to date themselves. And it's in real time, you know, so you can't compare, can you? But that was the frustration for me and where Knowledge Bank came from, because, you know, I was sat there as a broker. This was the system I wanted to use. It's like, surely somebody's done this. Surely somebody has. And if you think about it, who should have done it? Who could have done it? Well, the product sourcing systems could have done it, but I genuinely believe that they thought they got criteria on there to what their understanding of criteria was. But from a broker's perspective,
what they thought was important.
Exactly. You know, one tick box. The CCJ does not make, you know, a suite of criteria for understanding adverse credit when it comes to CCJs, does it? And all the nuances. So, you know, you look at that and you think, hey, who else would have done it? Well, you know, maybe the mortgage clubs or networks could have done it, but again, they were just using spreadsheets. You got the biggest mortgage clubs and their help desks groaning under the back of spreadsheets and sort of going with that. And I be honest.
I suppose that was people's Knowledge Bank, wasn't it? If you phoned up your club or wherever it was, and that does seem a bit ridiculous when you see. Well, I think it's the same with every fintech kind of advancement. You look back and you think, God, why were we doing that? Like, how did someone not think of that sooner?
Yeah, but at the time, it's like everything, isn't it? I think, you know, hindsight being that wonderful thing, at the time you think there's the solution and it works. And I think if something works or works well enough, then is there real motivation there to spend money and do it? But I just thought, absolutely not, this can be better. This could be so much better. You know, if you can have product sourcing in one place, why can we not have criteria in one place where everything's updated in real time? Give lenders access to the system. You know, product sourcing systems are still taking CSV files in from lenders and manually keying them on. 2023, you know, you've got to think about that next step, haven't you? You know, and I know they're working towards something better. I know they are, but you know what? Right from the off, we gave every lender a login to the system, and of course we've got a team here that help lenders keep it up to date, or sense check things that are on and all of that, and check.
Out of interest, Nicola, sorry to butt in, but how easy was it to get the lenders buy-in initially? Was that an uphill task? Was that just something that they saw straight away? Was it relatively easy?
Do you know what? The vast majority of lenders, the vast majority were like, "This is brilliant. This is a great idea." They saw it. Some were slower to adopt it. You know, so certainly some of the bigger lenders, as you would expect, I was like, "How is this going to benefit us though?" Because we get this. Anyway, yeah, exactly, and I get that. But even those lenders now, that there isn't a single lender that's not on board with it at all now, because they just don't accept that criteria searching is the norm. You know, it's spreadsheets are, you know, so 1993, aren't they? You know, we're past that now. So yeah, but the smaller lenders, the building societies, the specialist lenders, straight away they're like, this is fantastic. This will be our best performing BDM. It doesn't replace a BDM, but what it does is it gets you to the BDM quicker to have a better quality conversation. And then you don't have to have a conversation with the BDMs going, oh yeah, no, we don't do that. You can see that on Knowledge Bank. You see it straight away on Knowledge Bank.
Yeah, you've already covered criteria, then it's that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm assuming BDMs are quite enjoying it as well. If they appreciate, it's like anything, isn't it? It's added value as opposed to just doing their job. It literally just makes their conversations easier.
Absolutely, and we've been very, very, right from the beginning. If anybody was worried about that this is going to replace BDMs, absolutely not. Nothing replaces a good BDM. The conversations that you have with BDMs, all those nuances and thing about cases, how do you get it through, how do you present it, and all of that. What this does is it gets you to that good conversation a lot more quickly, and it cuts out the ones you don't need to have, where you're missing each other playing telephone tennis only to find out they're not going to do it. Find out that on the knowledge bank, and then you don't need to make the call.
Do you think that's why it's proving to be successful in regards to you're not trying to wipe anything out? Only because, I will go through this in more detail. I know, obviously, you're a believer in fintech and financial service, or fintech growing in the industry. But there's been lots of ones that have said they're going to wipe out certain things. Like, those companies that were going to completely wipe out mortgage brokers as we know it, and that kind of thing. And they have all been slowly but surely sort of falling by the wayside, or at least making massive reductions, or realising they need a call centre full of brokers to actually do this thing where you don't need brokers, which is kind of ironic. So do you think that's the difference maker? Is that you're not trying to change an industry, you're trying to add a bit of value? You're not. Do you think that's where kind of fintech lies, or where do you think it sits?
I think it does, and I think, do you know what? I think the biggest thing for us is that if you think about these fintechs, who are they? They are people with an idea. They're going to change the world. They get VC backing. They've got a business plan. They get funding from a piece of paper and a vision, and they're going to change the world. And they don't necessarily understand what needs changing. Some better than others.
None of them are mortgage brokers. I think that's the difference. I think they're software guys. They're not brokers. I think, and you've come from that background, and I honestly think that's where they kind of tripped up. Is that?
Yeah, I would agree.
That is a really interesting point.
I think
some of these guys were software guys who had struggled to get a mortgage and thought, I could change that industry.
Exactly
as opposed to actually looking at it and.
And that's how innovation works, isn't it? I mean, you have an experience, you think, I can make this better, and in theory that does work. And actually, if you look at what they've built, they have achieved quite a lot in terms of, they just didn't achieve what they set out to do. But what they're able to do is they're able to get a mortgage broker to do 20 or 30 cases as opposed to 8 or 10, for example. Because of the technology.
So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that as a mortgage broker? Because to me, someone doing 20 or 30 cases instead of 10. Only because I don't recruit for these companies, but I do speak to the brokers that come out of there, and it's not the highest caliber, if I'm honest, because they're paid. There's loads of problems there, but one of them being that they all get paid for the same thing, whether it's a 50 grand product transfer or a 600 grand adverse. So there's no benefit to them learning any harder criteria. I'm not knocking them all. There are some good brokers that come through, but I have this horrible feeling that it's created a high salaried group of bang average brokers because that's what they were told, that's how you do it. And I don't know, for me it just doesn't feel, maybe I'm too long in the tooth, but it just doesn't feel like broking to me. It just feels like order taking and
it's interesting.
Trying to solve a problem that potentially wasn't there.
It's an interesting point, and I think it's we can go back years, can't we? Machines are taking our jobs and all of that, and I think it's how you use that technology. That's the difference. Is how if all you're doing is just rubber stamping an order that comes through, that 100% that is order taking. But the good technology doesn't replace that real conversation and advice with a client. That the good technology helps speed it up, make it more accurate, show options that perhaps you weren't aware of that you didn't think you had. It's not just a case of creating a sausage factory, because that's the wrong thing for the wrong reason. We're sure that these.
It's funny you say. I feel like that's what they created. I think they had a really good vision as to helping people, and it turned into this sausage factory. We'll help who we can, but like a data mining exercise. I would love all those cancellations that they have in those, and see if you took it to an actual broker and see what they could, how they could work it, because they just. There's a lot of people that think they can't get a mortgage. I think because they spoke to a fee-free advisor that's clicked a button and said, "I can't help you," and I don't think that brings up the mean average of the industry as a whole.
No, but then again, I suppose just to play devil's advocate and look at it the other way. I mean, because I've not been on the inside of those companies, so I don't know how they work. But I think done well, they can provide a valuable resource. Having said that, I've also seen brokers out there that when I was a broker and they've got 4, 5, we go back to what we were saying earlier. Oh, it's all in there. Yeah, it is 3, 4, 5 lenders that So that customer walks to you and says, "Oh no, it's not possible," because they can't be bothered because they don't know the answer. They won't research the answer.
I suppose there's lazy brokers everywhere. You're right. It's just their breeding ground. That's the only thing. But you're right. Yeah, so even in smaller brokerages or people that aren't in fintech, you're still going to get those crap ones.
Yeah, and that's where Knowledge Bank was always, that was always something. Aside from believing things could get better, the number of clients that used to come my way because another broker said, "Oh yeah, no, there's nothing I can do for you there." Really, and I used to pride myself on being that broker that if anybody left my office and they weren't able to get a mortgage, it's because it was not possible at that point in time. I used to pride myself in that I would leave absolutely no stone unturned. And that's where, using tech such as Knowledge Bank, clicks of a button, it doesn't make you lazy. What it does is it actually puts all that information in your hands. And then as a broker, you're looking at this.
It should be like it's a bit like a prerequisite to sorry, I interrupted again. I was just saying that it's about the treating customer fairly as well. If you've got 4 or 5 in your head and then you can't help them, how can you fill in the information about how you've treated the customer fairly, how you can justify what you've done if actually your knowledge isn't up to speed? I think,
exactly.
If anything, it would help those brokers as well, wouldn't it?
It does, and that's one of the very first things we put on our system is the evidence of research. So everybody, that the FCA say you have to evidence your research. Everyone's taken that to mean, product sourcing tables. Really? Is that your research? Is that what you do as a broker?
That's the best research you got.
Yeah, that's research. Is it? To get a bit northern for a second, is it research? Is it? It's really not. You're telling me you just went on the product sourcing system and went, that one? No, you didn't. You spent hours ringing round, emailing round, going on websites before Knowledge Bank. You did all of that. Now you're on Knowledge Bank. We are making that research easier. So evidence that then. Use that as evidence of research from a compliance file. That to me is literally bolt and braces. If you've got your evidence of research of criteria, your evidence of research from product, nobody's arguing with that. So why did you not? You sat there in your compliance meeting. Why didn't you go with the cheapest product? Because let's be honest, as well as I do, Marcus, what brokers would do traditionally would be to fudge the product sourcing systems to get the product that they were going to go with to top the lender that they needed. That's the worst kept secret in the industry. And everybody knows that goes up. Now you don't need to do that. You don't need to be disingenuous. You didn't go with that because your customer couldn't have it because of what's on Knowledge Bank, the criteria. So now you can't go with the cheapest, it doesn't matter. You can evidence exactly why you went with that. And it's, on this day, at this time, this is what these lenders were saying. So yeah, it's just about finding the answers and giving.
Like you say, it makes the process easier, compliance-wise. Obviously, criteria-ised, it just makes sense, doesn't it? Treating the customer fairly, it just it makes sense to me, and obviously it's doing really well. But so actually, can we go back to when you started it? So when did you have the thought for it? When did it start, and when did it really take off?
So it was 2015 when we first really started. The thought first came about, and then it was a case of we built. It was myself and Craig, our CTO. And Craig, I've known a long time, and just chatting with him, he's a real expert in UX and UI and database and all of that. And he built the initial. Do you know about that stuff, by the way, Nicola? Are you quite techie on top, or do you know the vision? And obviously, you're technical wise, the tech, do you understand? Sure, more the vision, but I'm a lot more techie than I was before. So I never started out as a techie, but I've learned so much now. It's been fantastic. But I wouldn't change the way I started because I wasn't techie when I started. Yeah. And actually, that was the best way to do it because I never had to say.
Yeah, because then you could just say this is.
Exactly. I would say to Craig and the tech team, this is what I want. And, the famous phrase, well, we'll make it happen. What's this we? We'll make it happen, because I knew what needed to happen on screen. I didn't need to worry about how it got done.
Yeah.
So that never held us back because I was able to just go with that complete blue sky vision of what the broker needed and leave it to the people who understand tech, get it on screen. But of course now, a lot more tech savvy than ever I was, and understanding how it all hangs together in the back. which is incredible.
So 2015. Then when did you think? When did you give up broking? I'm assuming you have. Did you give up broking and then go, this is a full time?
Yeah, and do you know what? I'll be honest. I'll tell you what. It was a client that said it to me. I had a client who had built his own business from his kitchen table, and he'd done so well. It was an amazing business, and they were going into Australia and America and all of that. And I'd been his broker since he was sat at his kitchen table building this business. And he said to me, he said, I talked to him about this, and I was doing his mortgage, and he said, so why are you sat here doing my mortgage? I'm like, because it wants doing, Tom. What you do for remortgage? And it's like, yeah. And I just said, but you know what? If this is such a good idea, you're never going to get anywhere while you're sat here messing about with my mortgage, are you? And I went, actually, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I thought, if I don't focus on this full time, then I'm not. It's not going to happen. So 2017 was the real sort of point. But prior to that, what happened was, so my husband had got a good job. He worked in the motor industry at national account manager level, and he was, really good job. He sort of travelled around the world with different manufacturers and all of that. And he qualified as a mortgage broker to take over the business. He'd always toyed with the idea, really? But that's what he did it. So he went self-employed. I stopped seeing clients. Some would say that was a risk, and it was. It definitely was. But
put all your eggs in one basket, in the sense that if one doesn't work, the other one's not going to.
Absolutely. But you know what? We both believed so much in Knowledge Bank and what we were going to be doing with it and how it would change the industry. We were both happy to take that risk, because when you believe in something so passionately and you believe that you can make things better and help many more people than I could just as a broker, that's the big thing. I think we can do this. And so, yeah, it was, looking back, I can see how people would look at it, oh, that is great, that's absolutely crazy. But it paid off, it worked, so.
Did you not feel crazy at the time? I honestly think once you look back at things, you can see what people were talking about. But at the time, did you not think it just made sense that you were just going to do this was going to win, your husband was going to do the broking?
Never for 1 second contemplated it wouldn't work. Never for 1 second thought, oh, what if this all goes wrong? Because you know what, if things go wrong in life, well, you just pick yourself up, dust yourself down and get on with it, don't you? I would have gone back to being a broker.
You could sell another mortgage if you needed to, couldn't you? That's you've got that. You've always got that to fall back on you. Yeah, but I do like that, and I think hopefully that resonates with some of the younger, because we do get a lot of like new kind of up and coming brokers and that kind of thing, and also people looking to take the plunge into either self-employment or setting up their own businesses and that kind of thing. And actually, I think that's really important, to just that unwavering belief in what you're doing.
Yeah, and do you know what? Just on that, that's exactly how I started the brokerage. So when I went from being employed to then self-employed, but self-employed for somebody else, and then doing it for myself. And when I went self-employed and set up my own business, I got £3,000. And bear in mind, this was when I started my own brokerage. It was 2010. So back to what we was talking about, it wasn't the best of times,
There's a couple of years in front of you, yeah.
Exactly. So 2008, 2009, 2010, let's set up my own brokerage. And so everyone went, you are absolutely crazy. Seriously. I'm like, yeah, no, because you know what? People need advice more than ever. It's still possible to get mortgages. People need advice. And then I went out and employed an administrator from day one. And everyone went, right, okay, you are actually crazy, because why would you possibly employ an administrator? And my answer to that was, because I want to be busy, and I'm never going to be busy while I'm doing my own admin. So I had 1 month's money to buy a laptop for myself, and then also pay my administrator literally a first month's wages, and that was it. And I knew then the bar was set. That's what I need to do.
You know what, actually, the admin thing is really important, just because we get so many people saying, when I can afford it, when I hit this number, I will get an admin. And I always say to them, when you get an admin, you will double that number. But you've got to be the other way around. You've got to be the reverse mindset of, once I've done this, I'll do that, because you won't. You'll never get there. There's always a reason. There's always like planning to have kids.
Yeah, exactly. There's never a good time. You've got to bite the bullet, and then you set your bar. So 1 month's wages, the pressure's on, because guess what? I need to pay her next month, and the month after, and the month after that as well. So got to work. It's got to work, and it did. So but that's where
Yeah.
you just need to set your bar a little bit higher right from day one.
Yeah. And do you think that that kind of not burn the boats behind you kind of attitude, but just like there's no other option? Obviously, I don't know if everyone's doing, because I'm the same as you. I love pressure. Like I need that. I get quite bored if we get a bit stagnant and things are just going well. I always need that extra little boost, but not everyone can handle that type of pressure. So I suppose it depends on how you handle that. I mean, obviously you've got the massive amount of self-belief, but any other kind of characteristics that these brokers are looking at thinking, I couldn't do that, or I could do that, I'm thinking about that. Is there anything else you think would kind of give them the nudge, if you like, or not, if it's not right for them?
I think, I mean, to be absolutely clear, running any business is not for the faint-hearted. It's really not. I mean, you are running along, you've got to keep looking at what's in front of you, keep looking either side of you, looking at who's coming into your back. You've got to make sure when you are running a business.
Fired.
Absolutely. And that's before we start talking about staff and problems. It's not for the faint-hearted. So if you are not that kind of person, then maybe it's not for you. And actually, you know what? It takes every different person to make the world go around, doesn't it? And I'm a big believer in that. Not everybody can or would want to do every kind of job. But I think I always tell brokers that.
I always tell brokers that if you are looking to start your own business to take the pressure off, you are barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah,
they think like, once I've got people under me and it's going to be easier because they'll be doing the. I'm like, that does not happen. Your problem's just you've got to feed 6 families instead of just your family, and that's simple as nice. So for people that do it to relieve the pressure, you'll never work as hard as you do for yourself. Like even if you think you're working hard now, it's
absolutely, absolutely.
It's just a difficult thing.
I think you need to ask yourself: are you prepared to put? If you're starting a business, you need to put your life on hold. Are you prepared to put everything on hold and put everything into it to give it the best possible chance? I mean, I did that with the brokerage. I mean, that was in the most difficult of times in 2010, and I just grafted and grafted and grafted and grafted. But the thing with the brokerage is there's a blueprint. If you want to follow it, you can tweak it, you can make things better, but ultimately there's a blueprint. With Knowledge Bank, there wasn't. There were no instructions, no blueprint. This is me making it up as I went along, but you've got to have. I think what you've got to have.
Nicola, did you go? Did you have this like how am I going to get it out to people? Because I know you had the belief in the system and the belief in this is going to work. But did you have the structure in your head, or was it like let's get a product, I'll sort out the rest of the stuff later, or did you already have how am I going to get it to market and how am I going to get the lenders to buy into it and that kind of thing? Or did you go product first?
I did, sort of both at the same time. But I think the lenders buying into it is that unwavering belief that what you're building, you're doing what you're doing for the right reasons. But to liken it to, I know it's not the same, but when you've got that case that you're fighting for a client and it's bouncing about everywhere and that should go through, you will fight for that case because you believe in it. It's a good case, it's a good client, somebody should be doing it. And you don't give up because you believe in that, and it's a little bit like that. When you know what you're doing I could see the vision for Knowledge Bank and where we were going, and to be able to put all of that criteria in every broker's hand, kept up to date in real time by lenders in a fully searchable format. That is what the industry, that's what brokers needed. And it's like, okay, if we can do that, imagine it helps the lenders, it helps the brokers, and it benefits their customers. How can this not be the right thing? And that, I suppose it's a dogged determination, and nobody would have told me it wasn't a good idea, without a real fight, because I was like, why would that not be a good idea?
Did you have people around at the time telling you that? Have you always had a good network of people telling you it's a good thing, or did you have a few doubters and that kind of thing? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, right at the beginning, the one thing that when I started asking around, why has nobody done this? The one thing that I got told en masse was that it can't be done. That was the biggest thing, that it can't be done. And it's like, why not? Why can't it be done? And what I got told is that lenders won't tell you what all their criteria is. And I thought, well, That's not true, because if I ring a lender and say, look, I've got this
They
case,
want you to know. They want you to know. It saves them a job.
Exactly. We're not giving state secrets away here. It's just lending criteria,
No,
and it's just criteria. It's not their real policy. It's just criteria. That's all it is. So
yeah.
I mean, there were people that said it couldn't be done, but I just thought, well, and they wished me luck with it, and I thought, okay, thanks, and off I went, because it's just that. It's that belief, that dogged determination, and also that tunnel vision. You've got to have that tunnel vision. And I think you also need to know why you're doing something as well, whether it's setting up your own brokerage, a fintech or whatever. You've got to know why you're doing it. What is the purpose? And getting rich is not the answer. There's a clue. Getting rich is not the answer, because you will spend months and years not paying yourself. You'll probably run into debt. You'll not, there's lots of bumps along the way. If you think that what you're doing is to get rich, so you've got to have the stomach for the long game. If you want to achieve.
It's funny,
that,
actually. You know what? It is the long game, isn't it? It's the long game, because you speak to brokers when they say, "Well, I'm on 70% now, but I'm going to set up my own business." And I think, I don't know any business owners that pay themselves 70% of what comes in. So if you think you're going there to make more money, I mean, you've got to look at the long term of what it is to grow a business, because if it's quick cash, forget it. It doesn't work.
And you know what? I think, in life, my philosophy for life, always, do what you believe in, never do anything for the money. And when I was a broker, I would never, ever look at the size of a case. That person that came to me with a £30,000 mortgage was important to me as the one with a £400,000 mortgage, because it mattered every bit as much to them, sometimes more, and so you don't do anything for the money. If you do a good job, you'll earn a good living, and if you believe in that, then that will see you through. But absolutely, just never ever set about anything because you're doing it for the money. It's just the wrong reason, and
that's really interesting. I literally had the same conversation today with a young person who I was trying to say to them, you've got to stop looking at the money, you've got to stop looking at the result, because that comes with becoming better, and that comes with caring, and that comes with everything that you're doing really well. You're slightly missing because you're concentrating on the end. And I just said, just be better at all the other bits. Be better at all the process, and then the money is just a good result of being good. It's hard, isn't it? Especially for kind of younger generations that see like quick cash. I want to get into this because someone's told me I can make 100 grand. That's my biggest bugbear. And to be fair, recruitment, as I'm in, is part of that problem where people are guilty of overselling jobs to people, when actually patience and hard work and stuff, it doesn't look very sexy on a job spec. You know what I mean? It's not like people don't want to look at it, but that's the important bit, isn't it? That's what actually keeps you the longevity, and that's what.
Yeah, sorry, Marcus. I was just saying, I think years ago people expected to rise through the ranks. Now, thanks to things like social media and these great stories that they hear on online and stuff like that, now they think they're going to walk in and get the corner office and the big car, and it's, you still need to earn your stripes in life, and actually it's not that you need to, it's you should want to, because A, there's a sense of pride in that, and B, if you've done those jobs as you work your way up, nobody's pulling the wool over your eyes, because when you get into that corner office, you know exactly what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, how long it should take, who should be doing it. It's worth actually learning your trade, isn't it? And just taking your time up through the ranks.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, no, completely makes sense. Can I touch on? I've actually already kept you for longer than I said I would, but I've got a couple of questions that I really want to get through. One of them, because I know that you've Ying's on board with you, isn't he, as a non-exec director? And I kind of wanted to touch on that, because not just Ned, but I think mentors as well, and people that have been in the business, because he's a really good guy. He'll speak to anyone and kind of give advice and that kind of thing. And I don't know if everyone utilises like mentorship and having non-execs in. How much of a difference has it made for you? What does the extra hands bring? What extra head rather bring to the table? And what does that mean for your business in regards to kind of mentorship or Neds or anyone looking for an outside someone else to work with them from the outside?
Do you know what I think? I mean, obviously the two are a little bit different in terms of mentors and Neds, but the number of people that you speak to that never even considered that in their business, and if you get the right person, whether it's a mentor you're looking for or a Ned, it's it's so valuable. It's so valuable, and it makes a difference to the business in so many ways. I mean, as a talking about people thinking about rising through the ranks. Well, actually, if you get a mentor, that expedites that growth, and actually all of this is investing in yourself, isn't it? So if you get a mentor, you're totally investing in yourself, and I've done it for other people. And when I say investing in yourself, mentors don't charge. It's not generally speaking,
What
people
do
have
you mean?
reached out.
They all charge for me.
But it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for some sort of business coaching, that's different. But and I know to Ying as well.
Good people want to give their knowledge away, don't they? Good mentors want to give their knowledge away because they got there, and I think that's part of being successful as well. Is actually you want to kind of give that away. So on the Ned side, how? Because people, like you say, some people don't even consider it because it's like our business and this is it, and they don't see the benefit. But talk about the benefit of actually having someone else coming in and looking at your business.
So having somebody then on your board as a non-executive director, and like Ying, he's come in appointed as chair of our board. His experience is completely different. So at the very heart of it, myself and Ying were both brokers, but what a different journey, different skill sets, different experiences, but then very, very similar and extremely aligned in all the areas that it matters. So having somebody like Ying come on board then with his experience, he brings a massive, just a whole different dynamic and skill set to the board, which is just completely fantastic. And of course, having a Ned, they should challenge your thinking. It's like, okay, why are we doing this? What does this matter? And and that's the point. It's somebody that can be. They're not. The point about a Ned is they're not working in the business day in day out. So they don't have. When somebody says, "Oh, you're too close to the wood to see the trees," that's exactly where a Ned
it's true, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that they
because you're in the business every day, so it's next to impossible to see all of the problems, isn't it? Because you're in it. We find the same thing with recruitment when we're speaking to brokers because they don't see it because they're in it and they're like that. We point out a problem, they're like, "There's no way we would have seen that," but that's because we're not in your business. We're just outside it. We know. So it's interesting.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
And the thing I would like it to as well, I mean, everyone's got friends or family where they've seen a situation going on, good or bad, and they've got an opinion on that situation, and they can give that opinion freely and in good faith because they think it's the right thing for that person, and they can see this from afar. It's a little bit like a Ned, but obviously from a business perspective. So having Ying on board has made the world's difference to our business, as well as the fact that he's just a genuinely lovely guy with integrity at the fibre of his body, and it's great to work with people like that have just got your best interests at heart. And
did you feel that? Did you feel that when you first started going into it? Is that what, like, his values and obviously yours are, like the way you talk about how important it is for the customer and that kind of thing? Was that the biggest? Was that overriding over his experience? Do you think the values is kind of the Ned values still have to align with yours, but maybe over experience?
You have. I mean, experience is important. I mean, you know what? If Ying had worked in a butcher's, then it probably wouldn't have worked out. If I'm honest, you've got to know what you're talking.
Great value. Cut a bit of meat.
You've got to know what you're talking about. But it's quite easy to look around, and there are lots of people that do know what they're talking about. Put the practical application of that knowledge and skill is something different, and how that comes out in terms of values, morals, ethics and all of that's the difference. And being able to work with that person as well and know that you are 100% on the same side, and even if you see things differently, you are on the same side, and that actually is even better, because then you're thinking, do you know what, so for example, if Ying said something to me now, this hasn't happened, but if Ying said, Nick, I think what you're thinking there, what you're doing is really wrong, I'd listen to him, because I trust his judgment 100%. I trust that everything he does for the what's right for the business, as we all do. So given that, the board of directors, any one of the board that would say, actually, I don't think we should be doing this, or I think we should do that, or I don't agree with that decision. It's not, straight away, you're not saying, well, actually, I think you're wrong. I do. I think it's right. You're not in that challenging position. You're like,
no, actually, Nicola, do you have to go away and, sorry, I think there is a slight delay. I'll get that fixed afterwards. That's why I keep interrupting. But do you think that, because I asked the same question to someone yesterday, because they're the same, they've got a board and they're all very different collaborators. So and he said actually, looking back as being a little bit more senior, is that all the decisions I made on my own were high risk, and actually once I had that collaborative feel. But my question to him was, and my question to you is, as a founder, was it hard to take at first? Have you always been kind of that mindset of being able to go, right, I'll listen to them, or is it something you have to walk away and come back and realise that their opinion was right, or over time you realise that you need to listen? How were you as the founder? In all honesty, was it easy because it's your baby?
Do you know what? I think it's been easy for two reasons. One, because Ying is the absolute right person for us to work with. As I say, we match each other pound for pound, morals, values, ethics. So there's just that trust there, and we spent time getting to know each other before as well. That's the other thing. So you don't want to rush into a partnership. Of course, you have to keep things moving. You can't stretch that out over a course of years. Let's get to know each other over a course of 5 years. But pretty quickly you get to know, can I work with this person, and how's that going to work out? But I think the other thing as well is because I don't believe I'm always right. I think I might be, or I think I might have had a good idea, but I want validation on that.
Yeah, you don't have that idea thinking it's wrong, do you? That's the thing. You never think,
exactly,
like, I'm doing this. This is incorrect. So.
Yeah, exactly. What's the worst result that this could possibly bring? You don't. You do everything you do because you think it's right. But yeah, I think I am. It doesn't matter, and the thing is as well, I think why we've got such a great team at Knowledge Bank as well, and the culture that we've got here at Knowledge Bank is it's such a collaboration. It doesn't matter who you are, what job you do in the business, or whether it's even related to the other part, whatever it is, everybody in the business feels they can say, have we thought about doing this? Have we thought about, and everybody will stop and listen. And I love that because it just, you are never, if you think you can't learn anything else, it's probably time to go, isn't it? If and I think this is where things get
imagine
stale.
Imagine if you thought you were the finished article. Imagine if you thought that was it for me, like I've nailed it. Like, how boring is life then? What if you just you completed it? Have you? Amazing. It must be horrible waking up thinking this is as best it's going to be ever. I'm never going to learn anything.
Exactly. And I love that. I love learning, but you've also got to realise as well that you don't understand everybody else's perspective, and you've got to listen to other people's perspective. Now you can then respectfully disagree with something, but I think you should always say, this is why I think this, and this is why I disagree with that, and actually that collaboration, that's where conversation starts, and conversation wins over everything, because that's where you get your outcomes and the teamwork that's needed to make a successful business. So you've got to have that open mind, and but I do think if you're the kind of person that thinks I might want a mentor or I might take a Ned on, I think you're already in that frame of mind. You're open to conversations.
I suppose it's like someone who takes on a coach. They're already coachable, aren't they? So it's the same thing.
Totally.
Not everyone can be coached, or not everyone can be mentored, but if you've made that decision, you're already of that mindset.
Yeah.
You're sort of halfway there.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. What would you give? So any new brokers, for instance, coming out in the market at the moment, so obviously putting your broker hat back on, and actually your Knowledge Bank hat, but what kind of advice would you give to someone coming into the market now that is new, fresh, looking to either jump on and self-employed or jump in work, or just coming to the industry? What any kind of quick fire tips that you could suggest to people that would help them in their journey?